Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today I'm going to show you a deck profile which is involving the D era starter decks and its dark states. So with dark states, when we are making a premium deck, we have some restrictions. One of them is that you can only pick one of the clan that is in the dark states and make a deck with it. So for example, we have Dire Wreckers, we have Pale Moon, we have Spike Brothers, we have Gear Chronicle for Dark States, and we can mix cards with Dark States, Nation cards, plus Dire Wreckers, plus Pale Moon. We can only pick, for example, only Dire Wreckers to mix with the Nation cards, or Pale Moon with the Nation cards, or the other two clans with the Nation cards. So only one clan plus Nation cards. This is one thing. And the other thing is we don't have a ride deck in premium, so we can't do our certain rides, accurate ride, using the ride deck. That's not possible. So of course, as I said before, it is a Dark States deck profile premium, so you will be seeing me mixing with Directors, because I will be showing you in the thumbnail anyway, so you know which clan I'm actually mixing it with. And I want to release this deck profile, which is kind of a prototype, a skeleton, or just like idea of how I will mix the Dark States cards with Directors before the booster release, because I am most likely not going to get the Dark States booster cards. Not because I don't like them, but I just can't afford all 5 nations altogether. I probably can't afford 3 for now, which I will still need to see anyway. But I'm getting 2 for sure, and I'm trying to get another one. Yeah, so I want to basically use the cards from the starter deck and see how far I can get. And since this is a prototype, I will still need to be making some deck fight videos and show you guys later. But during the meantime, when you see this deck profile, and if you have any suggestions, comments, anything, feel free to let me know, because it's always fun to develop this kind of decks. And while I'm looking at the starter decks and trying to make a premium deck, it's quite interesting. So yeah, so without further ado, let's go into the content. First, of course, starters, you can choose this, you can choose other older starters which can give you a quick shield, and he can only draw when you're going second, but I'm trying to make it like a D era deck. So for now, this is what I'm using. But of course, if you do want to use other starters, feel free to try that, which I don't think will matter too much, and I will see it after I test it. And next, entering our Great Freeze, I'm running 4 of the boosts. So he will be the main guy of the deck as my Vanguard. The main reason is I want to use his Final Rush, and that's 2 things about Bruce that he is kind of fit in a premium era if you are not in a very fast meta game. Like if you're facing a rush deck, then you probably have a hard time. But if you're fighting decks that taking a little bit of time, this I think will be a fun deck to play with. So 2 things about Bruce. First, his final rush is when you start your right phase, then you become final rush states. So you need to actually wait for a turn in order to go to final rush. But with premium, what we have is our G zone. So if you are going second anyway, then you can already strike into your G unit, so he's not kind of a dead card, even though he still won't give you any extra effects on it, but you can still do something else. But if you're going first, of course you still have to wait. And then whenever he gets into Final Rush, when this card attacks as a Vanguard, you can Soul 5 to stand all your front row units. So this is something that is interesting, and kind of like having a lower cost compared to other like Shaharot, because you need to have that much of soul in order to do your stuff. But with this, what you need to do is only get into the final rush stage and soul plus 5 when attacks. So you can still do multiple attack with this card. And then the next point is about personal ride. So personal ride, if I interpret it correctly, is when a unit with a personal ride icon is riding on top of a unit that is with the same name. So when you have a Bruce, and if a Bruce ride on top of a Bruce, then the personal rides effects will be applied, which will give your front row units 10k power, and you get to draw 1. So that means if you ride a Bruce on top of Bruce, what you have is two things. One, because you start your ride phase, you get final rush. You personal ride, you get a draw and front row plus 10k, and you still get to strike. And the 10k plus will still stays there. So that is big, because that will help you to kind of make a stronger columns with your front row, because you get extra 10k plus on all your front row units. And next I will tell you what are the cards that will be a good like partners for the deck. But before we get into those, we keep going with deck content. So I'm running 3 of the Castillos. So his main position is to mix using with the G zone in order to get his effects off, which again I will explain it after. For people who don't know about Castillo, when you start the battle phase, you card last one to draw 1 card, and for 5 soul each, you get your opponents will select one of the effects, and then you will just apply them in any order you want. But of course, they cannot choose the same one. First one is all your front row gets +1 crit. 2 is your opponent's Vanguard power becomes 1. It's not fixed to 1, so after they get to 1, if they get triggers, they can still get power plus. And third, during the turn, your opponents cannot activate any auto effects, so that's including PGs, including most of the G Guardians. And then fourth is they put 1 card from hand face down to the damage zone. So usually we use Castillo as a finisher, and if you mix with Bruce, that can be scary, because say if you got like maybe 15 soul, the opponents will need to choose from 3 effects, and they probably won't want to add extra damage, so they will just lose the PG. Your front row gets +1 crit, and your opponent's Vanguard becomes 1. And if you personal ride, your Bruce gives 10k each to your front row, and you are going to restand all your regards. So you are going to do 5 attacks with 2 crits with +10k, and just swing for 5 times hardly. So that can be scary. So that's basically how we want to achieve in this deck. And before we can do so, what we also want to do is to fill up our soul, because we need soul +5, and we need to have like 10 to 15k souls for it. So I'm using Brufus, which can help me to do quite a lot of things. One, he can search me a card to my hand and extra copies in the soul that is same name with one of the unit in your soul. So for example, if I'm missing a Bruce or I'm missing something else, I can still find it and just feed my soul a lot quicker. And as long as I have 2 or more grave roots in my soul, when this card attacks, I can pop one of the units. Can be mine, can be my opponent's, in return then I get the power and the crit of that card. Which if Castillo is being active, you can basically kill one of your own units that gets extra crit, and they gives you 2 extra crits. So just a single Brufus hit will be 3 damage. So can be big. And then using some Final Rush cards. I'm using Richard mainly for his plus 5k power, but if you can ride him and have a extra unit to put into soul to draw one card, I think that's fine as well. Also a way to fill in your soul, but mainly it's for the plus 5k for Final Rush, just in case we don't have the personal ride, so at least we can hit some key numbers. And again, to fill our souls, we can't miss our Emblem Master. Also a good shield value, simple 14k, basically help you meet some of your units requirements, basically the killer tail, so that you can have enough copies in soul and then use the effects fully. And then I'm running 2 of the Bobo just in case I need some extra damage. Nothing too much to say right there, because people will always damage deny you, but you need the counterblast for Castile. So yeah, there you go. And then that's basically my grade 2s. Not a lot, but because I'm running a little bit more grade 3s. Then for grade 1s, I'm first running 3 other Steve. Again, it's for the Final Rush skill to get extra power so you can hit some key numbers, because it's well, in a way it's a protect deck, even though we only have 3 units with the protect marker, but these 2 are only 12k, so having Bruce, having this to basically hit 13k or above by themselves is very, very helpful. And then as I said before, we have our Killer Tail, mainly for the soul charge, for the counter charge, and just easy to use. What you need to do is just find enough copies and Brufus, your Emblem Master will help you out. Into massive soul charge, I'm using the old Dimension Creeper because it's free. As long as this card is in soul, you put it in your drop zone, and if you have a Dark Irregulars Vanguard, which you will be, then you can soul charge 2. And next, 2 of the Gravity Searcher Succubus, because I do want to hopefully ride a Bruce on my first ride, so that I can prepare for the Final Rush, and also as well as finding some copies to use to do my personal ride. And 1 Brother Soul, just in case I want to extra soul charge 2. There's no way easier to directly do something to soul charge 2. So and it's Brother Soul, so I'm trying to put it in and have some fun with it. So that's basically the deck content, but we of course still have some triggers, and since it's only the starter decks, the over trigger will be the generic one, the elemental one, but is already massive. You give 2 units massive power if you drive check it. Even if you damage check it, you still, this card will disappear, so you don't take that damage and you still get to draw a card, and basically give your Vanguard a very, very big power that your opponents can't simply get over with unless they also hit an over trigger. Yeah, but if we get the Dark States over trigger, maybe I will switch to that one. 3 of the cats, so that I can do some soul charging, do some draw, do some counter charging. Nothing too much to say, and it's a stand trigger, so well, even if everything goes right, I shouldn't need a stand trigger to restand my front row regards, but you can always stand a back row regards to make it bigger. And for early rush, it's still helpful, so I'm still using the cats, but only 3, mainly because I want to use the active skill more than being a stand trigger, but stand trigger can help, because before you get into Final Rush, stand can help you out a lot. And then 4 of the draw PGs, because you do want to have enough cards in hand to do your stuff, and PG is always helpful. And then 4 of the stride for the crits, because we do stride quite a few times, and sometimes you don't want to drop your grade 3s to stride, so it's here as extra resources for you to use. And then heal triggers, which is the B era heal triggers because of the 20k shield value. So even if we are facing some kind of ways to stop you from doing G guards or like a Castile that will negate their effect, so they can only be a 15k shield, which is the same as the D era heal trigger, I'm using 20k. So just higher shield value, nothing too much about it. Yeah, so that's basically the main deck content, and let's go into the G zone. So let's go over the G zone first. We have 2 of the Grateful Castile. So he's still our win con, and basically the reason why I think this deck idea works. What he does is he, of course, when you have new cards get into the soul during the turn, or your friendly units will get 3k plus, which if you combine with personal right for Steve, for Bruce, not Steve, for Bruce, you can even get more power. Yeah. And then the second skill, active skill, is by counterblast 1 and flip 1 G-Zone card face up. Then you choose 2 of your units, put them in soul, shuffle your deck, and during your turn, you get all the units of the of those units that you put into soul. So that's a few things you can do. If you're in final rush, one of your partner will be put into soul, it will be Bruce. Yep, and Castile. That's probably the combination you want to go for. If you do manage to get like 10 to 15 soul, I think this will be the best fit. Because what you need to do is basically get into final rush and just try to soul charge a lot more, so you pump 3k each for every time you do this through your front row, and give them extra crit, able to restand, and just do the 5 attacks. Hopefully opponents will be able to get into power 1 and lose all their auto effects, and you string with crit, that's where you win. It's taking a little bit longer, so say if you can't get into final rush, you can still of course riding a boost like this, and then choose your Brufas and Castile. So now your opponents will need to think they can't simply get all your friendly units a crit, because Brufas will just be able to help you out to suddenly for Vanguard swing with 3 crit at least, which can be fatal sometimes. Yeah, so you do have a few options to do, but best will be these 2 for the finisher. And that's why I'm running Castile, and that's why the deck works. And then running 4 of the Barons, mainly for like the soul charge, nothing too much extra drive. GB3 I don't think I actually get a chance to use, because you're most likely going to win just by using your Castile, but it's still a good card to have. And then Resander, putting all your Great Zeros back to your deck so that you won't deck out that soon. Just a backup plan. And then the Grade 4 from the Premium Collection. Again, something to help you massive soul charge, because you simply soul charge 5, and maybe you get a draw. So mainly is to help you in case if you still have an extra turn to do some stuff before you go to your finisher turn and you don't have enough soul yet, then that's what you can do. And then the Predator Dragon is here in case you need to free up your stride cost by striding him first. And he kind of help you retire some stuff, so yeah. And if you get to retire 3 or more, you get to soul charge 5 and draw 1, so another way to soul charge to free up your souls. But mainly it's just in case if you need to do like 3 strides, even though we do have a lot of great frees, we do have a stride for the crits, but when you don't have enough resources to keep running, that's where you need to find some help. And then of course the Seraph Dragon, again, we don't need to go that far usually, but it's still good to have. And this deck, you don't actually rely on G-Zone that much, so it's like when your G-Zone is gone, you can still put a good fight, because all of your great frees, remember our options are these 3. They don't have a stride skill, they don't have a GB skill, so even if you lost your G-Zone, that's not a big deal. And then get into our G Guardians. First, Junasu, simply for the plus 10k shield, and don't expect to put something with darkness skill to draw an extra card, because we don't run any of those. And Setneck for shield value, Vincent for shield value, Saint Germain for shield value, and just in case you need some resist to keep your units alive a little bit longer. And then our oldest G Guardians, Mallet for soul charging. Yeah, so it's a very simple G zone, and except the G Guardians that helps you to soul charge and gain shield from different situations, your Castile, so that you can copy some stuff, and your standard. Basically all these are 3 slots, but I would probably at least put 2 barons there, so you have basically 5 slots to put in whatever you want. But for me, I think extra drives sometimes help, and little guard restrictions may be helpful, maybe. This is just in case I need to do anything. Again, it's a 3 slot, so if you do want to use other options, you can. And these 2 is just a backup, and like if you don't have anything to do with them, you can simply just flip them over with this or your Castile, which again won't hurt at all, because you don't aim to play a very long game that you are going to use up all your 16 G zones, but they are just some good options to have. Again, if you do have other options you want to try out, feel free to comment down below as well, or you can even try out yourselves to see if they're better. But these are the must. These 5 I think still the must. And if you do want to use more G Guardians and use some of these slots, feel free to. Yeah. So again, the main win con is you hopefully get into your boost as your first ride. Try to find yourself another boost. And if you are like going second, then you can see how much soul you have. If you want to push opponents, you can use the first Castile to put Castile and Rufus there, so that you can also do some soul charging, and also trying to pressure opponents there, even though it's only 3 attacks. And next turn, once you get into your final rush, then you go again with Castile, but this time what you are going to pick is another boost, so that you can soul blast 5 to withstand your regards, and Castile, which is going to make your opponent suffer a lot, because they need to pick up what they can, and if you do have shiny souls, you get all of them off, you probably can just win from there if you already push them to 5. Yeah. So I think the deck is not too hard to pilot. Again, I need to actually try it out myself as well, but the idea I think is interesting to try, and it's something that is similar to before, but I do want to make boost the guy to shine, so here I am. Yeah. So yeah, repeat again that if you do have any comments, feel free to let me know. Always looking to improve those, and I can find a friend of mine to help me out to test, but just taking some time. Next, I also will have a Cater Sanctuary profile that using the Apex Boston as main to build a deck. It's probably kind of a weird build if you ask me, but I think it's fun to play with, which you will see it later. Yeah, so that's it for this video, guys, and thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.